This is December 2nd, 2018, and this is not a vlog. I decided that I wanted to get out of the house, and it had snowed the night before, and so it was wet and cold, but I really had to get out of the house, and I really felt like I have to try to do some vlogging, but I didn't really know what I was going to do subject matter wise. I took my Hermes Rocket with me, thinking maybe I would do some typing or something, but knowing that I probably really wouldn't, because there's no real good indoor place to type with a typewriter without bothering people, especially when you bring a video camera along with the typewriter. But I went out anyways, and this is what happened. Well, hey everybody, look at this. Look, we got snow. Can you actually believe there's snow in Albuquerque? Yeah, we got a little dusting, what, a couple inches? I don't know. Yeah, there's enough to throw a snowball or so. Well, anyway, it's kind of cold out here Sunday morning. Dusting the snow overnight. Perfect environment to go out and about with a camera. The little car is going to be cold-blooded. Turn off the stereo because we can't have music, can we? So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out somewhere. I got my little Hermes Rocket in its new little travel bag, so I could go stop by somewhere and do some typing, but I haven't had breakfast yet, so don't know really what I want to do there. But there are quite a few options on a Sunday morning here in Albuquerque. Depends if you want New Mexican food, sort of normal American food. What is your preference? I don't know. I'm gonna have to drive around and see what my stomach says. Well, here we are. I've decided that we're gonna go to Winnings Coffee, have breakfast. I need some coffee beans, and been kind of getting low on coffee beans, so got to do the Winnings. And across the street from where I'm at is the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. Nice mural. This part of Albuquerque by the university, the parking is always the biggest problem, and one of the ways that they've gotten around it is to tear down old buildings and build dirt gravel parking lots. Because that's what we do in Albuquerque better than anything, is we tear our buildings down. Oh well. Well, I had a great time at Winnings. Sat at the main table and talked with a couple fellas while we ate breakfast. I had the enchiladas and eggs breakfast, which was great, and it was always good to be here because there's always people that like to talk about interesting stuff. I didn't record any video because they had some music playing. They actually had sort of music on the main overhead, and then they had like the kitchen had their own boombox playing different music, so we had clashing, competing music. But anyways, it was fun to be down here at Winnings, and I also got a bag of coffee beans, so that's pretty cool. So I'm walking out in the rear exit from Winnings down in the back alley, which is always kind of fun to go through. So you have the back entrances of different businesses along with some loft apartments down here. It's always nice to see a community garden in the middle of the town, middle of the city. It's pretty cool. This is one of my more favorite murals in this part of town. This is a place called Annapurna. They're an Ayurvedic restaurant. Well, I'm downtown here by what's called Tingley Beach. This is a recreational area with some ponds that are along the edge of the Rio Grande, just inland of the river itself. So there's a radio-controlled model boat club or organization in Albuquerque here, and they use this pond here, the Rio Grande Fleet. So there's a little train station of sorts here at Tingley Beach. They have a little diesel powered kind of a, well, it's a full-size train. It carries people, but it's more like a kid's train. It goes by here and it runs from north of Central where the biopark is down to the zoo across Tingley Beach here. It's kind of cool, little touristy thing, but I like the little train station here. Nice quiet place to sit down and look out at the fading sun in the west. Some clouds, kind of stormy weather today, partly stormy. I was driving along, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be vlogging today. What's my story? Because if you see all the YouTubers and they're always talking about what's my story. In fact, there's a couple YouTubers that actually vlog about how to be a better vlogger. They're vlogging about vlogging and they're saying, well, you got to have a story. You got to find what's your story. What's your story today? Make sure you know what your story is. Work on your story. What's the story? And I didn't know what the story was. Well, then, as it turns out, I ended up having breakfast, and then I ended up driving down to near where the Rio Grande River is. Rio Grande River, Big River, where the Rio Grande was, and there are these recreational ponds called Tingley Beach, and it's really not a beach, and it's really not tingly. It's named after an old mayor back in the 30s and 40s, Clyde Tingley. It's just these ponds that they stock with fish, and it's a popular place just to go fishing and hang out outside and be outdoors in the cold weather. And by then it was getting kind of cold and sun was setting in the west, and I realized, well, now you're not really going to be doing any vlogging. You just shot some footage of Tingley Beach, and what's the story? I just still didn't have a story, and I thought, well, I still have the typewriter in my car, but I haven't really used the typewriter. And really, is having the typewriter in the car really what the video's about? Or I got home eventually, and it was pretty much getting dark. And then my wife came home, and we had dinner. But then I realized I left my Hermes Rocket in its bag out in my car, and it was getting cold, and I didn't want to let it get cold soaked overnight. So I went outside, got the typewriter out of the car, brought it back in, and then I realized I think I know what the story was, actually. The story is, if I had brought the Brother EP20 thermal typewriter with me, I probably would have actually used it indoors in a coffee shop, cafe, or restaurant, and might have even videotaped myself doing it. Why? Because it's dead silent. It's a dead silent typewriter. That's what the story is. It's about the difference between an ultra-portable manual typewriter and the thermal printer typewriter that's dead quiet and just as small. And by the way, my tripod thingy is wobbly now because the little wooden dowel is loose, and it's just kind of like that now, and I gotta fix it. So if I had brought my Hermes Rocket into some coffee shop or restaurant, it would be in this bag, and it says Targus, and everybody would have known that this is a computer bag, and they would have thought, oh, this guy's bringing in a computer into the coffee shop to use. And then I would pull out the Hermes Rocket typewriter. I would have had to unzip it, and you would have heard the zipper sounds. But see, then I would have brought out the Hermes Rocket. And wait, what? It's not a computer? It's a typewriter? But if I had been carrying the Brother EP20, see, it comes in this brown bag, and it has this kind of secondary pouch thingy that sticks out a little bit because I have thermal paper in there and all that. But you know, this kind of a more leathery look. It's not like the black tactical computer bag look. It has this more fashionable kind of traditional leather strap thingy, you know, over my shoulder. And they wouldn't have thought, oh, he's bringing a computer in to do his computering. But then I would have surprised them, right? And it has the single zipper instead of the dual zipper. And so that's more traditional, because they didn't have dual zippers back in the 20th century, did they? No, they didn't. But then, see, I would have taken out this, and they would have said, Oh, it's kind of like, it looks like a little computer, like one of those 1990 Toshiba computers or something like that, right? They would have said something like that. And I would have set it down on the table and I would have unlatched the cover and then opened it up. And they would have said, oh, look, it looks like an old computer of some sort. What is that? Looks like a funky old 1990s computer keyboard. What's that? What's that? And I would have said, just never mind, just go drink your coffee. It's pumpkin spice, or what's the seasonal thing? I forget now. Then they would have been even more mystified, because I would have unzipped the pouch on the front of the leather, fashionable leather bag, and I would have brought out a roll of white paper, and they would have not known what's the white paper about. And then I would have had to thread up the thing and have the white paper on the table behind me, and they still wouldn't understand what that is. Is that like a teletype? Are you doing the telegraph? What's going on there? I don't know. Don't know what's going on there. Yeah, so I think the biggest difference, though, would have been that if I had brought the typewriter in, of course, once I started typing, it would have been way too loud. Whereas with the Brother thermal typewriter, they wouldn't have been able to hear anything except maybe whenever you do the carriage return and you hear that little as it does its little carriage return thingy. So really the story here is, when I left the house this morning, wanting to get out into the cold air, into the weather, going just to do something, just to get out, I should have brought the little thermal typewriter with me instead of the Hermes Rocket. Even though the Hermes Rocket is the smallest, or one of the smallest typewriters ever made, it's not really just about the size of the typewriter, it's about how quiet it is when you're going in a coffee shop situation, right? So I think the whole story for today is, here is a usage mode for the Brother thermal typewriter, the EP20, that I hadn't really known about. It wasn't the reason why I got it. But here's a great usage of it. If I want to have a small, lightweight thing in a classy looking little leather bag that actually functions as a typewriter, but it's almost dead silent. I can use it indoors on a cold, wintry day in a public place like a coffee shop or cafe or restaurant. That's the story for today. Thank you.